All right, Skinny Bones chapter 10. This is actually going to have 3 parts because it's quite a lengthy chapter. It's called Who's on Second? The umpire called to the coaches. It was time for the game to begin. On the sideline, TJ was being interviewed for the 6 o'clock news. I tried to get close enough to listen, but they'd already finished. As TJ walked off, I heard the interviewer say, "Good luck out there today, TJ. We're all rooting for you." I looked into the bleachers and saw Fran and Ethel. They were hard to spot because they didn't have their mops with them. But the 2 of them got my attention and gave me a thumbs up sign. I smiled. Not everyone's rooting for you, TJ. TJ's team was the home team, so they hustled onto the field. Meanwhile, TJ started warming up on the mound. Just like in our pitching contest, every warm-up pitch he threw went zinging over the plate at about 60 miles an hour. "Batter up!" shouted the ump. Kevin Murphy was the first batter on our team. Kevin can hit the ball a ton when he connects. The trouble is, he mostly doesn't. Connect, I mean. As soon as he stepped up to the plate, I could tell he was really nervous. He kept trying to spit, but nothing would come out. Instead, he just kept making this funny sound with his lips, like puh, puh, puh. It was pretty awful. TJ grinned, and then he wound up and threw the ball as hard as he could. "Strike one!" yelled the umpire. Kevin looked confused. "Did we start already?" he asked the ump. TJ went into his windup for the second pitch. This time he threw it a little slower. Just as the ball got to the plate, it curved. Kevin swung with all his might. "Strike two!" yelled the umpire again. Poor Kevin. I felt really sorry for him. Whenever you swing as hard as you can and miss, you always look like a fool. He tried to act cool, but it didn't work. When he knocked the dirt off his shoes, he accidentally hit himself in the ankle. Embarrassed, he quickly got ready to bat again. Unfortunately, the third pitch that TJ threw was even better than the first 2. Kevin just watched it go whizzing by. "Strike 3! Batter's out!" called the ump. Everyone in the stands began to cheer loudly for TJ. Kevin stood there stunned for a second, and then he walked over and sat down on the bench. He bent over so no one could see his face, and he began to cry. It wasn't the kind of crying you could hear, but you could definitely see his back heaving up and down, and so you definitely knew he was sobbing. At first, the whole team was pretty embarrassed about it, but as it turns out, Kevin was the best batter of the inning. He was the only one who swung. The second batter, Willie Jensen, he just stood there, counted 3 pitches, and sat down. And the third batter never even took the bat off his shoulder. Our team was out in the field before we knew it. Everyone was looking totally depressed. It was pretty clear that we needed something to get the old team spirit going. I called them into a huddle for a pep talk. "Okay, look, guys," I said. "All we need to do is hold them. What do you say? Let's get them out. 1, 2, 3. 3 up, 3 down." Denzel Johnson, the first baseman, laughed right in my face. "Are you nuts, Alex? Our team hasn't made 3 outs in a row all year." "Yeah, Frankovich, what are you trying to do, mock us? We'll be lucky if we make 3 outs the entire game," said Willie Jensen. So much for team spirit. I didn't care what those guys said, though. I was still determined to cheer on our team. Frankie Rogers was our starting pitcher. As I walked to right field, I watched him warm up. Frankie only throws 2 warm-up pitches per game. He says he doesn't have that many good pitches in him, and he doesn't want to risk using them up in practice. I started chattering from the outfield. "All right, Frankie, pitch it in there, babe. Right over the plate, Frankie. You can do it, Frankie." Frankie threw the first pitch. It hit the dirt about 10 feet in front of the plate. "Ball 1, shouted the umpire. "That's okay, Frankie. Don't worry. You can do it," I yelled. Just then, Frankie made the timeout sign and began walking toward right field. I figured he wanted some sort of strategy session, so I ran up to meet him. "Would you please shut up, Alex?" he said. "How am I supposed to concentrate with all the noise out there? You're just adding pressure. That's all you're doing." "No, Frankie, I'm encouraging you," I explained. "It's baseball chatter. I'm supposed to chatter. The whole team is supposed to chatter." Frankie rolled his eyes. "Get a clue, Alex. This is not a normal game, and we're not a normal team, and I don't respond well to chatter, so put a sock in it, okay?" Frankie stomped back to the pitcher's mound. His next pitch hit the batter on the foot, and he took his base. The batter, after that, got hit in the arm. The whole thing was totally humiliating. It was bad enough that Frankie was hitting people, but he wasn't even throwing the ball hard enough for it to hurt anyone. The guys weren't even blinking. I shook my head and glanced over to the sidelines. That's when I saw the cameraman. He had just spotted me in right field, and he was pointing the camera in my direction. "Oh, geez. Oh, no. He said he was just going to film TJ. Quickly, I put both my hands over my face so that no one would recognize me in the news. Unfortunately, just as I covered my eyes, I heard the loud crack of the bat. Somebody had hit the ball hard. I looked up. A kid was running to first base, and all the guys on my team had turned to stare right at me. Right field? Oh no, that's me! A pop fly was headed my way, and I didn't even know where it was. Quickly, I looked up in the sky, but the sun was directly in my eyes. I was doomed. Finished. I was dead meat. Any second, a hard ball was going to smack me right in the head, and I had no idea where it was even coming from. I had to do something to protect myself. In a flash, I took my glove off my hand and put it on my head. Thud. The ball hit my glove. Then it rolled off the top of my head and landed on the ground next to me. Frankie Rogers started going nuts. "He dropped it! He dropped the ball!" he screamed. Man, did that make me mad. Frankie Rogers, of all people, yelling at me for making a mistake. "I did not!" I shouted back at him. "How can a person drop something when he didn't even catch it in the first place? Just because something lands on your head does not mean you caught it." "It does too," shouted Frankie.